Great Xian Nation, Xuanjing City, Grand Preceptor's Mansion. Grand Preceptor, please have some. Grand Preceptor, please have some. A toast to the Grand Preceptor's long life. In over 50 years, I rose from nothing to become the Grand Preceptor of the Great Xian Nation. My power knew no rival, and the tales of my life could fill a novel of countless volumes. The old man said while chugging the jar of alcohol. Then began to reminisce. When he, Li Fan, first crossed into this world, he was but a destitute scholar. Such is the way of life. What more could a man desire? He questioned, while glancing at the lively scene below him. And as if to answer his question, one of his followers entered the hall sprinting, gasping for air while calling for him. Grand Preceptor! Grand Preceptor! Fire is falling from the heavens. It must be an auspicious omen indeed. It seems to be descending upon our Grand Preceptor's mansion. Hearing this, the old man was naturally shocked, as he also went out to witness the spectacle. This is? He questioned as he saw two people floating in the air, emitting massive amounts of spiritual energy, one having a fiery aura, while the other possessed the sword aura. However, the situation quickly turned hostile as one could overhear the two fighting about something. Dao Xuanzi! Don't push me too far. On the other hand, the old man staggered back in disbelief at finally seeing cultivators. While the other bow in reverence. An immortal master. An immortal master is displaying his divine might. This must be an auspicious sign. How can this be? He wondered while his body kept teasing up due to the excitement. While on the other hand the sword cultivator demanded for the other guy to give up. Ko Hong. Did you think fleeing to this spiritually barren land would make me spare you? Hand over the cultivation method he seized that day, or the battle will not end until one of them drops dead. What a jest! It is precisely because I lacked a core formation method that I have been trapped in the foundation establishment stage for nearly 100 years. Now my time has come to an end, and I am close to turning into dust. Having finally obtained this core formation method, how could I possibly surrender it to another? Indeed, the road to the golden core is a solitary one. Though many core formation methods exist, far more cultivators remain forever trapped in foundation establishment. In that case, with a method to attain longevity before my eyes, how could I possibly let you live? With that, the sword cultivator flared up his energy intending on fighting. However, the other guy was no slouch either, as he also emitted his energy while also not forgetting to laugh at the situation. How laughable! After a century of brotherhood, we now draw our blades for a mere sliver of survival. He then continued while manifesting his energy into a dragon. I know I am not your match, and I will likely meet my end today. But with so many mortals gathered here, I wonder if you can endure the dense mortal miasma. Sparing no time, the sword cultivator also manifested his sword aura, preparing for a deadly battle. Ko Hong! What do you think you're doing? With that, he launched his sword covered with intense sword intent at his opponent, who was also not willing to give up, unleashing his own attack. If you cannot withstand the immortal mortal miasma's force, perhaps I can seize a chance to live. The two massive energies then collided with each other, causing a huge explosion that threatened to flatten the land. Unable to react to the huge force imposed upon them, the mortals down below gazed above with awe and fear etched into their faces. This is bad. And so the land below was not spared by the shockwave the two immortals caused. Every structure now turned into rabble. Luckily the old man survived, as he woke up only to witness the destruction and chaos inflicted by the immortals. Ugh. Cough, cough. Cough, cough. Cough, my wife. My children. Cough, cough. The once bustling and prosperous Xuanjing city has turned into a hell of blood and fire. Everywhere the eye looks, there are only shattered bodies and fallen ruins. I fear that not even 1 in 100 of the common people will survive this calamity. And all of this was caused by two cultivators who appeared out of nowhere. Thinking about such, he could not help but burst into a manic laughter. Ha 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 ha. How could there be cultivators in this world? From the moment I became an official, I used the power in my hands to search for any sign of the immortal path. After I became the imperial preceptor, standing above all others, I searched the world without rest. North to the icy sea, south to the great ocean, east to the void abyss, and west to the endless mountains. Throughout the entire Great Xian, there was not the slightest trace of an immortal's presence. I had already given up. I had grown old. Were those two people truly immortals? And from where did they come? Is fate merely toying with me? With that he executed a hand sign, with powerful spiritual energy shimmering around him, as he then activated his trump card, the truth returning. Huan Zhen. When falsehood is taken for truth, truth becomes falsehood. Charging complete. Virtualize the current scene and return to the initial anchor point, Huan Zhen, that is the name I gave my unique treasure. Its power is to turn truth into illusion, and reality into falsehood. It allows my real experiences to be transformed into simulated illusions, letting me return to a fixed anchor point, the very moment I first crossed into this world. In truth, this is already my second life since arriving in the Great Xian nation. In my first life, though I was full of ambition, I was no more than an ordinary man. I longed to become the top scholar, yet failed the examinations time and again. By the age of 30, I abandoned that dream and turned to business. I became a wealthy commoner. Took a wife, raised children, and lived a quiet, mundane life. Only when I grew old and lay dying did I finally awaken the unique treasure, Huan Zhen, truth returning. That awakening marked the start of my second life, one of meteoric rise and unstoppable progress. For once the Huanzhen system is charged, it allows me to restart this life, returning to a chosen point of failure and beginning anew. Yet I cannot restart just yet. There are still important matters I must complete in this life. We then see a memory where he was passing down his orders. Pass down my order. Command the Wuwei Bata lion stationed outside the city to march into Xuanjing and maintain order after the catastrophe. Yes. Most of Xuanjing's buildings lay in ruins. After my trusted Wuwei battalion took control, they not only hastened the city's reconstruction, but more importantly, I could remain in the military camp to oversee recovery and secretly send agents to track the whereabouts of the two cultivators. A month later, the ruined Xuanjing city began to show faint signs of life. Several months later, the city gradually came back to life. Reporting to the Grand Preceptor. There is still no trace of those two cultivators. I should not have placed my hopes on such a thing. In that case, there is nothing left in this life worth clinging to. And again he used the truth returning. Huan Zhen. Virtualize the current scene and return to the initial anchor point. Yes. And so he began the process of going back in time, as he also managed to see all the memories he experienced. His attention particularly stopping on the images of the two cultivators. Dao Xuanzi, Ko Hong. In 50 years' time, I shall still be waiting for you in Xuanjing City. Huan Zhen. Restart a new life, return to the first anchor year. Understood. And so the space around him warped, transporting his soul into the void. Wealth and honor are but fleeting clouds to me. In the next life, I shall hunt immortals. The truth returning. System then narrated his travel through time. You returned to anchor year 1. Overjoyed, you did some outrageous things and were nearly forced by your aunt to drink exorcism water obtained from the village witch. Half a year later, you took the provincial examination. Although you ranked in the low 30s, you ultimately succeeded in becoming a Jiren, bringing honor to your ancestors. Anchor year 2, you took the metropolitan examination and passed. You performed exceptionally well in the palace examination, placing in the second rank and were conferred the title of Jinsher. You pulled strings throughout Xuanjing City and obtained the position of County Magistrate of Wen County in Jiangnan. Anchor year 3, you began to cultivate a team of trusted subordinates. You successfully produced a batch of explosives and matchlock guns. Anchor Year 5, refugees gathered and rebelled against the Prince of Langya's manor. You led troops to the rescue, saving the Prince of Langya's family. The Prince of Langya was deeply grateful to you. Anchor Year 6, you were promoted to prefect of Jianghuai Prefecture and married the daughter of the Vice Minister of Personnel. Anchor Year 7, your wife gave birth to a son for you. Anchor Year 10, the Princess of Langya gave birth to a son. You personally visited to offer congratulations and presented a carefully prepared gift. Anchor Year 15. The Emperor passed away. The Prince of Langya ascended the throne, changing the era name to Xuanjing. Emperor Xuanjing summoned you to the capital, promoted you to Vice Minister of War, and ordered you to lead troops to quell the rebellion. Anchor Year 18, you wiped out the rebel army. Emperor Xuanjing revoked your military authority, promoted you to Minister of War, and appointed you Grand Tutor to the Crown Prince. Anchor Year 20, the Empress was suddenly implicated in a witchcraft case. Emperor Xuanjing was furious and confined her to the cold palace. The Crown Prince secretly sought your help, and you decisively agreed. Through private investigations, out found the person who framed the Empress and cleared her name. However, Emperor Xuanjing did not release the Empress from the cold palace. Anchor Year 25, you secretly received a message that someone had reported you for privately visiting the Empress in the cold palace. In the same year, Emperor Xuanjing was assassinated. On his way to the capital, the officials went to the cold palace to escort out the Empress. Afterwards, the Crown Prince ascended the throne, with the era name Kongning. Anchor Year 26, you were ennobled as Grand Tutor and appointed Grand Secretary of the Deliberation Council. Reaching the pinnacle of power as a subject. You used this opportunity to form factions and attack rivals, establishing your own power base in the imperial court. Anchor Year 30, the people of the realm only knew of the Grand Tutor, not the Emperor. Anchor Year 31, the Empress Dowager became pregnant and gave birth to a son for you. Anchor Year 38, Emperor Kongning died of depression. Anchor Year 40, the Empress Dowager passed away from illness. Anchor Year 45, your wife passed away. Anchor Year 46, your eldest son passed away from illness. Anchor Year 50, 2 immortals came from the eastern abyssal ruins, destroying Xuanjing City in an instant. You were lucky to escape with your life. This simulation has ended. You may choose one of the following options to retain. 1. An item you possessed during this simulation. 2. Your cultivation realm from this simulation. 3. The simulation memory of a person closely related to you. This memory can be inherited by that person. 4. Forgo the above options to accelerate the charging progress. Is it that reality has become all of this, or is all of this an illusion, just a simulation, a misconception caused by it being too real? Or perhaps, after a certain point, the line between fake and real ceases to exist. Forget it. I should look at these 4 options first. 1. An item you possessed during this simulation. 2. Your cultivation realm from this simulation. There's not much to say about the first and second options. If I embark on the path of cultivation, these 2 would definitely be helpful. As for the third option, no one knows what a person will become after receiving decades of memories. Therefore, stability is paramount. That only leaves the fourth option. The truth returning, ability to turn reality into illusion requires charging. When I suffer a fatal blow, truth returning will consume charging progress to automatically protect me. This is also the reason I was able to escape death several times in my previous life. Therefore, the fourth option is the most prudent choice. Accelerate the charging progress. Name, Li Fan. Realm, mortal. Physiological age, 20 out of 86. Mental age, 166 out of 1056. Illusion turning charge progress, 30%. 3 lifetimes, 166 years. So I've already lived for this long. But the upper limit of my mental age. I remember it was only over 900 years in the last life, but now it has increased to over 1,000. After carrying too many memories, one's mental fortitude reaches a threshold. If the burden is too heavy, it will crush the soul. This is the so-called erosion of time. However, the upper limit of one's mental age will increase as their mental fortitude strengthens. As long as I embark on the path of immortal cultivation, nothing will be a problem. The goal of this life is to learn the secrets of immortal cultivation from those two cultivators. In 50 years, they will descend upon Xuanjing City. By being prepared against the unprepared, I might just have a chance of winning. Perhaps what I can rely on, besides guns and gunpowder, is the mortal miasma they mentioned. I can't just wait idly for 50 years. They came from the eastern abyssal ruins. I can first send people deep into the bottom of the abyssal ruins to investigate. The most frightening thing in life is having no goal. In my past life, many times I would wake up from the Empress Dowager's bed in the middle of the night and feel an immense emptiness and confusion. Coldly looking at my own hands and my calculating abilities, which are far beyond those of an ordinary person that I in my past life, I had already stood at the pinnacle of mortals, I could go no higher. It would be the same even in another life. Power and pleasure, after being repeated many times, became as tasteless as chewing wax. Perhaps, after a certain reincarnation, I would have chosen to end my own life. But the appearance of those two cultivators showed me a brand new possibility. I will cultivate immortality. I want eternal life. No one can stop me. Dao Xuanzi. Ko Hong. See you in 50 years. With the experience of 2 lifetimes, everything went as smoothly as a river flowing to the sea. I still participated in the imperial examinations. This time, however, with decades more experience in power, the essays I wrote were naturally far superior to those of my previous life. I placed first in the provincial, metropolitan, and palace examinations, achieving a triple first, and my name shook the realm. Afterwards, I still chose to serve as an official in Wen County. Although there was much confusion and regret in the imperial court, my request was ultimately approved. Due to my great fame, and my crystal-clear understanding of the temperaments of all the officials in the county, I quickly brought Wen County under my firm control and began to promote and cultivate the trusted subordinates from my previous life. Anchor Year 4, I searched in secret and found someone who could act as a double for the Prince of Langya, and I cultivated them as a trusted subordinate. Anchor Year 5, I ordered my subordinate to pose as a refugee and stormed the Prince of Langya's manor. I feigned a rescue, but in reality, I collaborated from the inside to kill the Prince of Langya's family, while having the double take his place. From then on, I secretly controlled the Prince of Langya's manor. We then see him getting freaky with the granddaughter of the Chief Grand Secretary, Princess of Langya. Anchor Year 9, the wedding of the Prince of Langya and the Chief Grand Secretary's granddaughter was held as scheduled. That night, I snuck into the bridal chamber and consummated the marriage with the Princess of Langya. Anchor Year 10, the Princess of Langya gave birth to a son. Of course, he was my flesh and blood. Anchor Year 15, the Emperor finally fell gravely ill. After receiving the Edict of Succession, I hurried to the capital with my trusted subordinates. Chief Grand Secretary. After the Prince of Langya ascended the throne, I brazenly placed my trusted subordinates in the imperial court. With the Chief Grand Secretary's covert cooperation, I easily took control of the situation. Anchor Year 20, after installing my son as emperor, I named myself Grand Tutor, stepping out from behind the scenes to once again wield absolute power over the realm. After this, the gears of the great Xian nation's development did not grind to a halt, on the contrary, they turned even faster due to my will. Grand Tutor's Manor. Anchor Year 35. So, you're saying the mist over this abyssal ruins disperses for half a day every 15 years? Reporting to the Grand Tutor, that is correct. My immortal seeking camp was ordered to be stationed beside the abyssal ruins, observing day and night. We finally made a breakthrough a few days ago. After the thick fog disperses, a faint light can be seen shining from the bottom of the abyss. We used a telescope to observe and discovered all sorts of inverted sceneries. Although what each person saw was not exactly the same, there were 100,000. Mountains rising and falling, with magnified structures hidden among them, faintly visible. There were majestic cities standing on the plains, bustling with life, with a population of no less than 1,000,000. And there was even a city in the sky, wreathed in rosy Taoist light, with all kinds of rare birds and exotic beasts flying amidst it. Truly. Wait, so it really is from the abyssal ruins. Have you found a way to get to the bottom of the abyss? The old man wondered. Your subordinate is incompetent. We have tried various methods, but no matter what, once we descend to a certain depth, we are torn to shreds by a sudden astral wind. The astral wind is so powerful that not even our toughest armor can withstand it for a moment. Sigh. It seems I still have to wait for you too. Time then shifts to the great Xian nation, anchor year 50, Xuanjing. The scene our old protagonist was waiting for finally arrived as the two cultivators came into view, fighting like the last time they did, repeating the same dialogue. Dao Xuanzi. Don't you push things too far. However, their confrontation was halted by a rain of bullets aiming straight for them. Who dares to launch a sneak attack? Turns out it was the army gathered down below, firing their weapons at him. Without effort, the cultivator naturally stopped all the bullets with his spiritual energy. Is that a bullet? He then snatched one rifle to inspect it. A bit interesting. Using intricate mechanical structures in place of spell formations, and the explosive power of mortal objects in place of spiritual energy. I never thought that after several millennia, mortals exiled to this immortal forsaken land could develop such an ingenious object. A pity it only works in this land where the great Tao is incomplete. Outside this immortal forsaken land, it's nothing more than a pile of useless scrap metal. Mere mortals. Daring to raise a hand against cultivators like us. I originally felt a sliver of guilt, but now it seems you're just courting death. Tao technique, fire dragon's roar. And so, a spiritual dragon manifested which rushed down with a ferocious roar that intended to demolish everything in its path. With a huge boom, the land down below was decimated, leaving only chaos in its wake. Although his blow was mighty, he was soon stunned to realize that there was something wrong with the mortals he was facing. What's going on? My fire dragon's roar is not something a mere mortal should be able to withstand. Why are so many people still alive? The sword cultivator then chimed in after inspecting the tools the mortals had used against them. These hidden weapons have been soaked in the blood of mortals. After being tainted by the immortal mortal miasma, your Tao techniques have been weakened. Hearing that, the other cultivator was naturally stunned, leaving the atmosphere heavy with the sword cultivator coming to a conclusion. We were ambushed the moment we arrived. And they even used the immortal mortal miasma. They were clearly prepared. This place is strange. We shouldn't stay long. Without hesitation, Ko Hong agreed as they both prepared to retreat. Let's go. However, our protagonist's voice shook the sky as he dared to provoke the immortals, calling them by their names. Dao Xuanzi. Ko Hong. If you two flee today, by tomorrow, news that you've obtained a core formation method will spread throughout the entire cultivation world. Hearing this, they were both naturally stunned. How is that possible? Only the two of us know about obtaining the core formation method. How could the news have leaked? Who is it? However, that brief distraction left an opening as they were suddenly surrounded by cannonballs wrapped in the immortal mortal miasma. Annoyed by the mortals' antics, Ko Hong intended to blast away their puny projectiles with a wave of his finger. Courting death. His friend, on the other hand, tried to stop him from making the reckless action. Watch out, Ko Hong. Get out of the way. However, it was too late as the cannonballs exploded, letting out the thick immortal mortal miasma which greatly weakened the cultivators, as they both fell from the air, blood raining down. The soldiers then quickly surrounded the defeated cultivators. You two immortal masters, our Grand Tutor has given an order. If you surrender without a fight, your lives can be spared. Still able to move, Dao Xuanzi struggled to stand on his feet, while still unwilling. Heh! Surrender without a fight? However, his soul was shaken when he saw a wisp of his energy carrying a spatial ring. And so Ko Hong spoke his last words. Take my storage ring, and go. With his death, his dragon soul emitted outward towards the sky, then began transforming into a branch, followed by an announcement from the heavens. Foundation Establishment Cultivator Ko Hong, who cultivated for 205 years, achieved his Dao foundation with the wondrous item, Chiu Dragon Branch. In the immortal Sakan land, he was besieged by thousands of mortals and was wounded by the immortal miasma. His cultivation base was instantly lost, and his lifespan was nearly at its end. Now, his body has perished and his Dao has vanished, returning his Dao to the heavens. With the announcement done, one of the soldiers spoke up. Immortal Master Dao Xuanzi, our Grand Tutor has no intention of fighting you to the death. If you give up resistance, our Grand Tutor guarantees your safety. Witnessing all this from above, the protagonist was curious about the scene he saw when the cultivator died. When Ko Hong died just now, I thought I heard a strange sound from the sky. But what that sound was is no longer important, because capturing an immortal in this life is now hopeless. I never expected the immortal miasma to be so lethal to cultivators. Gasping for air, the immortal Dao Xuanzi finally stood on both legs, with fury burning inside of him. I don't know who you are, nor what your purpose is. Now that we brothers have been plotted against by you, with one of us perishing and his Dao vanishing, there should be nothing left to say. But I refuse to accept this. Hiding behind mortals, and even using a despicable thing like the immortal miasma, which all cultivators scorned, and my brother, Ko Hong, died at the hands of someone like you. I feel it was a worthless death for him. Letting himself in the air, he continued. You have already seen my brother's foundation establishment wondrous item, now, I would like you all to see mine. Casting his technique, he pointed upwards. With the wonders of heaven and earth, I establish my Dao foundation. My Dao foundation is named, Dao Xian. While saying that, one could see a giant sword breaking through the heavens. I have a sword. I invite you all to witness it. With no surprise, the moment the giant sword descended upon the earth, everything and everyone there instantly perished. With his plot armor still on, the MC used his truth returning. This simulation has ended. And so our boy returned back. So this is a cultivator at the peak of foundation establishment, without the immortal miasma, even if I went through 100 lifetimes and devised countless schemes, it wouldn't be enough to threaten them. I didn't expect the immortal miasma to directly cause Ko Hong's body to perish and his Dao to vanish. I originally thought their talk of being brothers for 100 years was just words, but their relationship was truly extraordinary. When attacked, Dao Xuanzi would call out a warning to Ko Hong. Ko Hong, knowing he couldn't escape death, willingly gave the core formation method to Dao Xuanzi. Seeing Ko Hong die by assassination, Dao Xuanzi, unable to quell his indignation, gave up his chance at survival and unleashed a suicidal final sword strike. All of this shows that the friendship between them was truly beyond ordinary. He then thought back to what Dao Xuanzi was saying about how there can only be one core formation method, leading to more cultivators stuck at the foundation establishment stage. The great Dao of the golden core, there can be only one. Immortal techniques cannot be cultivated together. If even men as close as brothers are like this, what must the cultivation world outside be like? No matter how perilous the path ahead, I will not waver. What's more, with the help of truth returning, as long as I am careful enough, I believe no predicament can stop me. Last time I chose to attack both of them at once. Perhaps this time, I can try to win one of them over. The mental age limit only increased by a few decades this time. It seems I'm nearing the cap. If I include my life before transmigration, this is already my 5th life. The path to immortality is truly difficult. I hope these 50 years won't be wasted. Scene then shifts to the endless abyssal ruins, Divergence Year 35. From the experience of the last simulation, I learned that the thick fog above the abyssal ruins disperses once every 15 years. Today, I have come to the abyssal ruins to witness it for myself. After an unknown amount of time, a massive amount of white fog was forced to erupt from the abyssal ruins, rushing towards the sky like a reverse waterfall. This great wind lasted for nearly an hour before the dense fog finally dissipated. I took out my telescope and looked toward the bottom of the abyssal ruins. According to intelligence, the scene that appears at the bottom of the abyssal ruins is different for every person who looks. Peering into the darkness, he then saw letters appear on the wall. The path of immortality is dead. The path of immortality is dead. What on earth happened in this place? And what in the world happened to the entire cultivation world? Time again then shifted to Anchor Year 15 Xuanjing City, with the arrival of the immortals. Dao Xuanzi. You've gone too far. He repeated. However, things played out differently as one could hear our MC's voice traveling through sky, while his soldiers attempted to shoot him down. Ko Hong, you brat. By order of Immortal Master Dao Xuanzi, we have been waiting for you. How is that possible? Could Dao Xuanzi have known I would flee here? He wondered while blocking the bullets, and as always was stunned after sensing the immortal miasma coming from them. Dao Xuanzi, you are truly despicable. He shouted, and hearing this, Dao Xuanzi was naturally shocked. What's going on with these mortals? Why are they attacking Ko Hong under my banner? And they can even use the immortal miasma? This place is rather strange. Ko Hong. These mortals are not under my command. He tried to protest, however our boy gave them no chance to think as he continued shouting. How can Immortal Master Dao Xuanzi turn his back on us like this? Didn't we agree that we agree long as we helped you kill this Ko Hong here, and seize his core formation method, you would lead my clan out of this immortal forsaken land? Hearing this got Ko Hong mad as he roared in fury. Still say it's not you. Besides you and me, who else in this world would know about the core formation method? This person actually knows about the core formation method? Dao Xuanzi questioned while he tried to locate our protagonist. The MC's voice then continued. You should know, we incurred the wrath of the masses for the sake of the immortal miasma you spoke of. Now, public resentment is boiling over. If the Immortal Master cannot keep his promise and lead us out, I fear it won't be long before my clan dies without a burial place. After saying that, he was spotted. I found you. Shameless villain, shut your mouth. Dao Xuanzi said while diving head fast towards the sound. And with a loud boom, he landed on the ground, sending debris flying everywhere. Turns out the sound came from a radio device that continued to provoke the immortals. Does the Immortal Master intend to silence us by death right now? Seeing the radio before him, the immortal was stunned into silence. What Dharma artifact is this? This person is surprisingly cautious. And so he destroyed the radio device. From his back, however, appeared Kong Hong, filled with hurt and betrayal. Dao Xuanzi. We have known each other for 100 years, yet I never thought I had misjudged you so. You want the core formation method, don't you? Why resort to so many underhanded tricks? I won't run anymore. If you have the skill, come and take it. Dao Technique, Flame Dragon's Wrath. Looking at the blast coming for him, he did not panic, but sighed deeply knowing his friend won't believe him if he said otherwise. He too then unleashed his sword to meet the attack head-on, and naturally the collision between the energies was immense, creating a shockwave. Our MC however was not done with them as he continued to provoke. This Dao Xuanzi is fickle and vindictive. If he wins, there will be no escape for us. My sons, heed my command. Assist Immortal Master Ko Hong in dealing with Dao Xuanzi. Hearing this, Ko Hong became excited. As the saying goes, he who commits many injustices is doomed to self-destruction. Dao Xuanzi. I never thought that you, who have always prided yourself on being noble, would also break faith and suffer a backlash. You fool! Dao Xuanzi yelled at him. Oh really? You fancy yourself clever, so why are you now deserted by everyone? This is what they call being a victim of one's own cleverness. I have recently mastered a new Dao technique, just in time to send you on your way. Dao technique, imprisoning dragon. With that Dao Xuanzi was trapped by the technique. Of course this was not enough to stop him as he intended to break free. Break for me. He then flew out the trap with his trusty sword, and after catching his breath, he unleashed his ultimate technique, Dao Xian, as we then again see the huge sword descend. Let me see whether your Dao Xian is more formidable, or if my Qiu dragon staff is superior. Dao technique, dragon transformation. As the two energies were about to collide, the MC intervened. Immortal Master Ko Hong, we shall lend you a hand. He shouted as it rained bullets, all heading towards Dao Xuanzi. Upon impact, the immortal miasma was freed, causing massive damage to the cultivator. Arg! This is bad. My Qiu dragon branch. With his life about to end, roots imploded from within him, leaving him lifeless in a pool of blood. And with the death of an immortal comes the heavenly announcement. Dao Xuanzi, a foundation establishment cultivator, cultivate for 201 years and established his Dao Founda, Ton with the wondrous item, rusted sword Dao Xian. In the immortal Forsaken Land, he fought with honor there and was ultimately killed at the hands of the foundation establishment cultivator, Ko Hong. Now, his body has perished and his Dao has vanished, returned to the heavens. It's that voice again. It also appeared when Ko Hong died before. Dao Xuanzi. From behind then appeared Li Fan. I am Li Fan. Greetings, Immortal Master. I implore the Immortal Master's mercy to save the lives of the 1,000 souls of my clan. You were the one whose voice was echoing from all directions earlier. A mere mortal like you, actually daring to interfere in a battle between US cultivators. I was merely seeking a slim chance of survival. As I said before, if the Immortal Master had been defeated, my clansmen would surely not have escaped death. Seeking a slim chance of survival, you say. The world is harsh. Who isn't struggling for that one slim chance of survival? Before, Dao Xuanzi, the Immortal Master once promised me that if. However, before he could finish, the cultivator interrupted. For 100 years, Dao Xuanzi has always appeared to be a man of his word, but in reality, he acts without any principles, even deceiving mortals. That great immortal, severing formation is incredibly dangerous. Even for us, leaving requires a great deal of effort. How could we possibly take mortals with us? What? You mean you don't know a way to leave this place either? That's right. Hearing that, Li Fan became silent for a moment. This is not a place to talk. Immortal Master, please follow me. We then shift to the underground shelter, as Li Fan continued to question. What the Immortal Master said before, about being unable to take mortals out of this immortal Forsaken Land, is it true? You are but a mere mortal. Why would I lie to you? Perhaps a golden core stage cultivator could protect mortals while breaking through that great immortal severing formation. But for someone with a foundation establishment stage cultivation base, it is absolutely impossible. Does that mean there is no hope for US mortals to ever leave this world? To leave the immortal Forsaken Land, one must pass through the great immortal severing formation. With the frail body of a mere mortal, it is utterly impossible to pass through. Besides, you're already old enough to have one foot in the grave. Why are you so obsessed with leaving this place? Isn't it nice being a local emperor? If my descendants could cultivate to the foundation establishment realm, like the Immortal Master, wouldn't it then be possible for them to leave? Ha ha ha, let's not even mention that there isn't a shred of spiritual energy here, making cultivation impossible. Just the fact that immortals and mortals are eternally separated mortals here are covered in miasma. How could they possibly cultivate the path of immortality? I advise you to give up on this idea. For mortals like you, if you wish to cultivate, you must first go to the outside world to reconstruct your bodies and wash away this miasma. Otherwise, even if the great Tao Teo immortality were placed right before you, you could see it but never touch it. Hearing this, Li Fan's body began to tremble, repeating what the cultivator said. Immortals and mortals are eternally separated. So, you're saying there really is no way? There really isn't. If the immortal master has no further instructions, this old man will take his leave. Watching his actions naturally stunned the cultivator as he also saw the door closing him in. He became even more scared seeing the immortal miasma filling the room. You. However, it was too late as one could only hear his screams coming from within the cave. Arg. Since immortals and mortals cannot coexist, then how could a mortal like me ever fully trust your words?